Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. We're sorry about that. There was a streaming yard thing where it was kind of going a little bit slow. So thank you guys for your patience. For those of you that were waiting just a couple minutes, let me just get here. We'll get everything all starting to go. Excellent. Well, hey everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome to the Anna Alexis Podcast. We are so excited to have you on tonight. And I'm super excited for our topic. For those of you, this is your first time joining, welcome. This podcast is designed to empower women who lack that clarity to regain confidence and direction by pursuing their goals limitlessly, by reclaiming the fragments of themselves that they've left behind. For those of you that we see you every week, welcome back. We are so excited to have you on. And tonight, this is going to be a follow-up episode of what we started doing last week, because I feel like this sheet is so important if you give it the time that it deserves. And I wanted to give you a little tips and tricks as I was going on and getting this sheet done again, because I had done this sheet before in the past. I've actually done it probably 4 or 5 times, but I hadn't done it in this new season of my life. And it is so crazy how there are some goals that stay the same. Like, I feel like I always want to be skinnier, I always want to be more fit, but then there are some goals that are different, especially with us just having a brand new baby. And so giving yourself that time to really sit down, and especially if you have your partner, if your family, getting to do this all together so that you can have this shared common vision. I cannot tell you how important it is. So for my husband and I, what we did is we went and did this sheet on what we currently have and then what we want to experience. And we put one on each side. And we both just did it separately, and we listed out the things that were kind of everything that we had and the things that were important to us. And I cannot tell you again how much it helped just kind of bringing us together to have that shared vision. And especially I'm excited to do it with Cam next week so that we can get aligned as a family and keep moving. And so, but what I wanted to do is kind of re-talk about this sheet, because I have 2 sheets, because I was doing one sheet and then I went and read through it again, and I was like, oh, damn it. I need more room. But I also was adding stuff along the way of like in between the little lines that I hadn't done originally, which is why I have my second sheet that has more of everything on it. And one of the things I did for me is I went through and I recircled which ones are kind of like theming together. Like, are these health related? Are these job related? Are they career related? What is it, so that we can kind of combine them into one thing and into one vision of what it is that you're looking for. But one of the things that I want to clarify is that when you get into the want to experience category, I want you to put this in the present tense, because so many times, especially if it's a desired future that we're wanting for ourselves, we always put it in front of us instead of allowing us to feel it in the here and now. And whether you have watched The Secret, whether you believe in the law of attraction or not, I'm a big believer in saying things in the present tense, because your brain doesn't know the difference. Like if you've ever been driving and all of a sudden you're kind of, or even on the couch or wherever, but you're off in a daydream and your heart's racing or whatever it is that you're thinking about, but it's like your brain doesn't know the difference between make believe and real. So saying these in the present tense so that the God, the universe, whatever your belief system is, can start opening those doors for you. And so if it's, let's say it's a money goal and you want to earn $100,000, if you're like, I'd like to earn $100,000, it's kind of like it keeps it in the future. Like, I'd like to be a unicorn, whereas if you can say, I make $100,000, then your brain starts going, how could I do that? And now your brain is starting to come up with solutions of like, how could I do that? Oh, I did always have that idea for a business. Oh, I did have that idea for a patent. Oh, I am supposed to call that one person. Oh, I was really connected in that realm. Oh, I really love this industry. And it starts bringing you together, which is exactly what it's designed to do if you let it. And so putting it in the present tense. But the other thing that I want to talk about with our brains is they can be little fear-based machines. So for those of you that have been with us now on our 5th episode, all the episodes prior to that, and we're talking about that whisper, that voice inside of you that is like, hey, I'd really like to do this. I'm really passionate about this. I'd really love to move here or go there or grow there. And we just kind of silence it. This podcast is we are uncovering that whisper and creating solutions instead of setbacks for ourselves. Our brain can start to go, who the hell do you think you are trying to change what we got going on? Because sometimes, even if you're not happy, it's not different. It's not change. So it's not as bad, because change is scary. It's scary for everybody. Even if you're making a great change, it can still be really scary. And so I think a lot of times our brains are like, why don't we just stay right here? And what I feel like our brain does is it comes to us in tears. At first it's like, you're like, I'm thinking about losing some weight. I am going to get off the couch. And your brain is like, but you love watching Big Bang. You love watching Game of Thrones. You still have some of your dessert left. And you're like, oh yeah, I do. And then it gets you for another few days, for another few weeks, for another few months. And that comfort just kind of surrounds you. And that's where we can find ourselves. We're like, when you find yourself in the groove and it can be a rut, sometimes if that marble's in the groove, sometimes it can get so far down that you got to flip the whole thing upside down to get it out, to start over, to embark on something new. So if you can make it out of the comfort phase, you're like, I did it. Cool. But you're not done. Then what your brain's going to do is it's going to come at you with some logic. It's going to be like, well, who is it that you think you are? Let me list out the 1,700 possibilities of all the things that you're busy doing. Oh, you can't start that. We see family on Sundays. You couldn't carve out any time for that. Or who do you think you are? It's getting ready to be school season. You can't do that with your kids. Where are you going to find the time to do that? And then if you can make it out of logic, what I'm finding for myself is that there's this little lull of like, yeah, I just rationalized all my fears. Because I don't know how it is for you, but especially for me, I can think of like 7,901 reasons why I should or should not do anything. Mostly in the should nots. I can like list those out, no problem. And once you make it through comfort, then you get through logic, then you've got this thing where you're like, I have figured out every solution to this problem. This is amazing. I can totally do X, Y, and Z. Then your brain's going to really come at you. And it's going to put down everything you are afraid of. And it is going to scare you back into that hole of who it feels like you need to be to stay safe. Not joyful, not peaceful, safe. And sometimes when we're in that safe mode, we think that is happy. We think that is safe. When really, it's just keeping us in this little box. It's like, think of animals at the zoo. They are safe from predators, but they never get to leave. They never get to go anywhere. They're in a cage their entire life. And what's crazy for us as humans is we have free will, and we willingly put ourselves in the cage and hold the key, and we'll just stay there because we don't know what else is outside of there. And it's so easy for us to just say, hey, you know what? What I'm doing is working. I don't really love it, but I can pay my bills. I see my friends on the weekends. I don't hate my spouse. I can stay here. This is safe. What we're doing is working. And it is, unless you have that whisper, that little itching, that little inkling that is like, hey, what about this? Remember when you were dreaming about this? Remember that t-shirt line you wanted to start? Remember that song you were working on? Remember that bakery that you had thought about doing? Remember when you wanted to move to the East Coast? When you've got a whispering like that, you've got to work through the comfort, the logic, the fear, because you have to remember at the end of the day, life, almost all of it is just you versus you. You're just going against yourself. And that's what makes it so hard, but also so easy. When it's you versus you, you knows all of your weak spots. You knows at what time you like to sit on the couch. You knows what time you don't like waking up early in the morning. And it will use that against you. First in a nice way. Oh, you love sleeping in. Oh, doesn't this feel so nice? Oh, your dogs are up here. Now your baby's right here. Oh, they're all sleeping. Don't move at all. And then you start thinking, well, if they're all sleeping, I could probably get up and do some reading. I could stretch. And then you're like, yeah, I figured this out. And then if your brain is anything like mine, it's like, yeah, well, once you get up, then you're up. Then you got to let the dogs out. Then they're going to want fed. Then your baby's going to start crying. And then you're never going to get to do anything. So whether you get up at 5:30 or 8:30, you're going to have to start your day all the same. And then you just don't do anything. And so as we're building these habits to say like, no, I am going to honor my whisper. No, I am going to make a change. You have to find these loopholes, or you have to have these conversations with yourself. Because again, a lot of times it's easy for us to say it, to blame it or put it on someone else or a different situation. But really it's just us. Because when we want to do things, and even especially as women, I'm not sure how it is for men, but for women, if we want something, that's the end. If we want to know something, that is the end for certain. And so what we're going to be doing tonight is, as you're going through your sheet, for those of you, if you haven't done your sheet, that is no big deal. And if you've done your sheet and you want to start over, wonderful. Turn it over. You got a new sheet. We're going to be going through these. But as you can see, there's a lot of shit on here. So how are you going to find all of the things that are going to be important to you? Because you can't work on everything you want to have. And so as you can see, for me, what I went and did is I color coded and circled like, oh, that's a health one. Oh, that's a lifestyle one. Oh, that's an income one. And really needing to find a strategy. So the couple things we're going to talk about tonight is strategy and sustainability. Because if you're just like, I want a different life, and you just keep doing your own thing, your brain is going to take you right back into that groove, right back into that rut. So if you aren't conscious and aware, you'll lose another week. You'll lose another month. You'll lose another year. You'll be 50 before you snap back in. So having a strategy and then having something that's sustainable is so important. We're going to dive into those. But for the strategy piece, what's important is there are things on your sheet that you might like to have, but they're not super important. They don't really like speak to you in any way. You know, when I look out at, let's say, my backyard, I'm like, oh, I'd like to have moss roses. Not the end of the day, you know, like I'd like to have that. That would be nice. You know, or if you have any goals on there for yourself where you're like, oh, I'd love to lose 15 pounds. But you've been saying that for 15 years and you haven't really, it's like, meh. You know, kind of gauge your goals on what's the most important to you, because the ones that are, you know, just because, oh, I guess we could do that, you're not going to make it. You have to want what you want. And if it's just because, or, oh my gosh, wouldn't that be nice? Well, yeah, wouldn't that be nice? But wouldn't that be nice lives in the never going to have it. So if you'd like to move it from never going to have it to working on to having it, it has to go from, oh, that'd be nice, to a reason behind it, a reason, an emotional reason that's going to captivate you and motivate you to change and to work through those patterns of your brain so that you can, again, win the battle of you versus you. The other thing is you can't have it all at once. Even if you've got 5 goals on there. You know, for me, a couple weeks ago, I really wanted to track to see if our son was getting enough sleep with his naps and everything. I wanted to track for sure that I was drinking water, because pre-baby, I was drinking about 250 to 300 ounces of water a day. Post-baby, I was drinking like 30. And I'm like, this is not good for my lifestyle, for what I am used to. So I got these 2 apps that I could track my water and I could track his sleep so that we would know. Well, all of a sudden, now that app has me tracking his diaper, his diaper, his feeding, his sleeping, nursing, all of these things. And then my water app had me tracking all of my meals and when I'm exercising and when I'm doing this. And you know what? It was just so much for me to do. I lasted 2 whole days on that app, on those apps. It was too much. So again, you can have it all at once. You know, like for me, getting back to pre-baby weight, super important to me, but it's not as important to me as looking for an alternative income stream to get my passion, to have a passion instead of just a paycheck. So know that there's time for it all, just not all at once. You have to pick and choose what those things are going to be. And so the other part is in the strategy is you need to work with yourself and be on your team like you are your friend, your best friend. Not that friend that you have that you're like, oh, we're friends, but you'll talk shit about them when they're not there. Not that friend. Your best friend. The one that you would do anything for. Your child. even when you don't like them, that you'll do anything for them, or your dog or your animal. When our dog, one of our dogs, Cooper, he had to get ACL surgery. And afterwards they were like, you're going to have to walk him every day. I've been trying to walk myself every day. Couldn't make it happen. But Cooper needed to walk. We are making it happen. We are doing it. I will absolutely do it for him. And so be on your team like it's someone that you love, because it's so easy for us to think that this like negative motivation is going to work. And it may for a small bit of time, but it's nothing really long-term. And if you can sustain it long-term, you're losing a part of your soul and a part of yourself that makes it to where it's not even worth it, which is what's going to bring me into that next piece of that sustainability. We have strategy. You got to pick. Not all at once. Pick what's important to you, and you've got to be on your team. Then there's sustainability. Because what you are giving to your goal, what it requires from you, is just as important as what you're going to get. So many people in the industry that I currently work in, they will take that next higher job. They'll get bigger properties and they're like, I'm going to get an X amount raise. They don't understand the emotional toll, the weekend work, all of the stuff that it's going to steal from them. So know that there's a balance for whatever it is your goal is. It's going to go like this. What you get has to be equal to what you're going to give for your goal. Because it's easy to say, like, I want to make more money. I'm going to take that job. Okay, well, now the weekends that maybe you were coaching your son's soccer practice, you don't get to do that anymore. And there are times where you need to take a season, but just really look at the things on your sheet of what you currently have and what you want to experience, and getting into that realm of what you currently want to experience. What do you have? And is it as important? Is it going to balance out of what it's going to require from you? Time, energy, resources. Is it that important? And what you're getting, are they equal? In my previous company, when I worked in network marketing, they would say, you have to make sure the juice is worth the squeeze, because you're going to have to do it anyway. Or what we talked about last week is like, if you're going to climb the ladder, make sure that it's against the right building. Don't just doing the little thing. And then all of a sudden you're like, damn it, I don't want to be here. And then you have to start over, which if you do, that's okay. But just begin with the end in mind. How do I make this sustainable? Because how you get something matters. What it's going to cost you for that goal, it matters. What it's going to cost you mentally, what it's going to cost your family, what it's going to cost of your time. That stuff is important to you. And what you need to do is, as you're looking at all of these, as you can see, I got a lot of stuff on here. You got to identify your priorities. 1 to 2, no more than 3. Identify what's important to you and focus on only those things. If you were able to take your goals and say, these are the things that are the most important to me, and for the next 60 days, if it's anything outside of that or anything that's going to hinder me, I'm just going to say no to it. I'm just going to say I can't. Because if you guys were in a Bible study or a book club or I said a workout class, like you played in a sports league, that time blocked out you have for you. If you're in a season of 60 days and you have 10 games, you would just you'd say, oh no, sorry, I can't do 6. We have a game that night. Give yourself that same stuff, whether you're a part of a group or not. You are a part of you. You don't have to be a part of a group to say, hey, I'm actually blocked off for that. I'm focusing on this in this season of my life. And then the last thing I want to talk to you about that is really important, I think a lot of people, it's understated and we don't put enough emphasis on this, is we talked about like how you get something matters, but why you want it. And one of the things I do when I'm looking at my sheet, when I'm setting goals, when I'm really just wanting to do anything, whether it's I'm wanting to purchase something, I always have in the back of my mind, if nobody could see this, would I still want it? And I'll say that again. If nobody was ever going to see you achieve this goal, you get that thing that you're wanting. If nobody could see it, would you still want it? Because a lot of times there are things where you think, there's a healed part of you that if you obtain that thing, It'll just fix that part of you that's broken. It will validate in you that loneliness or that emptiness or that drive, or it'll make up for things that you've been for in the past. Like if you can just get that one thing, it's going to fix everything. And it doesn't. It doesn't ever. You end up getting it and going, why do I feel the same as I did before? And so as you're looking at these and finding out what's most important, what's important to you if nobody ever got to see it? You know, for me, making that alternative income source so that I can just go, instead of going from paycheck to paycheck, I can live passion to passion. I'd want to do that whether anybody was looking, haters, lovers, whoever. And finding what that is for you, places that you want to go, things you want to experience, parts of your life you want to be in. What would that look like if it was just, again, you versus you? Because what I found is that I can get a lot more done at this stage of my life, and even prior, in most stages of my life prior, in hate mode. I remember in college when, you know, again, on that sustainability piece, when I wanted to be fit and lose weight. And, you know, now I look at those photos and I'm like, oh my God, if I could just be as fat as I thought I was in those photos. And I know a lot of women, they look back at that and we can kind of, you know, laugh at that. But what I was doing is I would get up in the morning and I wouldn't want to go. And I would say, do you think anyone's going to love you looking like that? Do you think anybody wants to be with you like that? Oh, you're not going to work on your business. You're not going to work on your goals. You're a loser. Do you think anybody's going to love you like that? And I got very far with that. The problem is it wasn't sustainable. You know, when I was in college and I was eating less than 1,000 calories a day, I was a college athlete. I was working out before, on top of my college practice. Sometimes I'd work out after and on the weekends. And again, you can't do that forever. And so how you're doing things, why you're doing things, that stuff matters. It's not just about winning and getting to the end, because I will assure you, if you build something that's not in truth, that shit is going to fall and it's going to go away. But if you can do the work right now through this podcast and also on your own, build something that's going to last. Because for me, if I can't keep it, I don't want it. I don't know if it's just because now I'm in my 30s and I'm not looking at starting over a whole bunch. But if I can't do something sustainably, like people are like, oh, have you tried this diet? No, because if I can't do it forever, I'm not going to do it at all. And just to circle back on that, if no one else was looking, why would you want that? Why would that be important to you? You know, because one of the most important things is that, and I listened to this on a Jay Shetty podcast, and I think it's so important, is, and I really hope I get this right, but you aren't who you think you are. You aren't who I think you are. You think, oh no, it's going. I'm not who I think I am. I'm not who you think I am. I am who you think I am. So it's what I think your perception of me is how I see myself back from you. And it is so important to just get that lens down, to focus on yourself. Again, if no one else was looking, what are the things that you want to experience in your life that would be the most important to you? One of the last things I'll leave you with is, if you start, the best way to honor yourself and to start really believing in yourself is to do the things you say you're going to do. And they don't have to be big things. They could be today things. One of the things we've implemented in our family is we printed out a calendar for July. Oh, that's not even square. Jesus. We printed out a calendar for July, and on there, because I have so many things that are running through my mind that I'll forget. And I'm like, today I'm going to buy luggage for our upcoming trip. I need to schedule shots for our dog, for him to get his rabies. And then I did that. And then the next day I finished the tasks I put there. And today I have one more task and I'll be able to do it. And I'm telling myself, I'm telling my brain, we can do this. We can do this. You can trust yourself. I'm honoring myself every day by doing the things I say I'm going to do. And so even if it's not a huge thing, just start. Start by one thing. Start by doing one thing, whether if you just need to walk for 5 minutes around your house. Start doing things that make you believe in you. Be on your team. And the best way that I'm finding by being on my team is when I say I'm going to do something and I do it. I'm telling that part of my brain that wants me to stay in this fear, logic, comfort zone. I'm telling them we can create a new comfort zone. We can do this. I don't need to be afraid. I'm doing what I need to do for this to work. I'm showing up for me. And sure enough, that little brain that's just trying to keep you safe is going, yeah, we're doing that. Yeah, we're safe in this. We can make that jump. We can do that thing. Yeah, we can. We did that stuff yesterday. The stuff I said I'm going to do today, I did. That means the stuff I'm going to do tomorrow, I'm going to do that too. And you start being on your team. You guys, thank you so much for joining this podcast. I love getting to spend this time with you every Tuesday at 5 p.m. And I'm so excited to get a chance to touch base with you next week. I hope you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.